I was dead for 11 minutes on an operating table. And what I saw changed everything I believed about God. Why would a devout Muslim see Jesus instead of Allah in heaven? My name is Tariq, and I am 29 years old. I was born in Dubai, but moved to Los Angeles when I was 18 to build my business empire. My father owned 7 luxury hotels across the Middle East. My grandfather had made billions in oil before anyone in America even knew what Dubai was. I grew up in a world most people only see in movies. Marble floors in every room. Staff of 30 people just for our family home. Private jets that took us anywhere we wanted within hours. But money never made me feel important. What made me proud was my faith. I was the most devoted Muslim in my entire family. While my 3 brothers spent their time partying in Monaco and buying sports cars, I spent my time memorizing the Quran. By age 15, I could recite all 114 chapters perfectly. The Imam at our family mosque in Dubai said I had been blessed with special devotion. My mother would cry happy tears watching me pray. I prayed 5 times every single day starting when I was 7 years old. I never missed once. Not when I had the flu so bad I couldn't stand up. Not when I was traveling across time zones. Not even when my friends made fun of me for leaving parties to find a quiet corner. Prayer was more important than anything else in my life. More important than money, friends, or fun. When I turned 18 in 2013, my father gave me $50 million to start my own business. He said I had proven myself responsible, that I honored our family and our faith, that Allah would bless whatever I touched because of my devotion. I took that money and moved to Los Angeles to start a tech company. My father thought I was crazy leaving Dubai, but I had a vision. I wanted to build something that would make my family even richer and prove that a faithful Muslim could succeed in America. Los Angeles was different from anything I had experienced. People didn't care about prayer times. They ate during Ramadan without shame. Women dressed in ways that would get them arrested in Saudi Arabia. Everything moved fast and loud, but I stayed focused. I rented an apartment in Beverly Hills. I hired the best programmers money could buy, and I built an app that connected luxury travelers with exclusive experiences. The app exploded. Within 2 years, we had 10 million users. Within 4 years, we were worth $2 billion. I was 26 years old and a billionaire. Forbes wrote articles about me. Business magazines put my face on covers. People called me a genius, but I knew the truth. Allah had blessed me because I stayed faithful to Him in a country full of sin and distraction. I bought a mansion in Bel Air with 12 bedrooms and an ocean view. I drove a different luxury car every day of the week. I wore watches that cost more than most people's houses. But I never forgot my prayers. I had a prayer room built in my mansion that faced Mecca perfectly. I hired a chef who only cooked halal food. I donated millions to build mosques across America. Money was just a tool to spread Islam and honor Allah. My mother called me every week from Dubai to check on my faith. She worried that American culture would corrupt me, that I would start drinking or dating non-Muslim women or forgetting my prayers. I always reassured her. I told her I was the same devoted son she raised. That success hadn't changed my relationship with Allah, that I would never dishonor our family by abandoning Islam. In 2022, I met a woman named Yasmin at a Muslim charity event in Los Angeles. She was 27 years old, born in America to Pakistani parents, and more beautiful than anyone I had ever seen. But what attracted me most was her faith. She wore hijab, she prayed 5 times daily. She had memorized half the Quran. We talked for 3 hours at that event about faith, family, and our duty to spread Islam in America. Our families arranged our engagement within 6 months. It was perfect. Yasmin understood the pressure of being a successful Muslim in America. She supported my business. She shared my devotion to Allah. Our wedding was planned for December 2023. Over 500 guests would attend. We would honeymoon in Mecca for Hajj. Everything was falling into place exactly how I had always imagined. Have you ever felt like your life was perfect, like you had done everything right and God was rewarding you for it? That was me in early 2023. I had billions of dollars, a beautiful fiancé who shared my faith, a business that was changing the world, perfect prayer attendance for 22 straight years. I was living proof that Allah blessed those who stayed faithful to Him. I gave speeches at Muslim conferences about success without compromise. Young Muslim men looked up to me as an example. I told them they could have wealth and faith together, that they didn't need to choose between American success and Islamic devotion. I genuinely believed Allah had placed me in Los Angeles to be a light for other Muslims, to show that we could thrive without abandoning our principles. But I had one problem: my health. I had always been thin and weak. As a child, I got sick constantly. Colds that lasted weeks, fevers that came and went. My father joked that Allah had given me a strong spirit but a weak body. Doctors said I had a mild immune deficiency. Nothing serious, just something to watch. I took vitamins and tried to eat healthy, but I never worried too much about it. In August 2023, I started feeling different. My chest would hurt after climbing stairs. My heart would race when I was just sitting still. I felt tired all the time, even though I slept 9 hours every night. Yasmin noticed I looked pale. She made me promise to see a doctor. I kept putting it off. I was too busy with work, too focused on wedding planning, too confident that my devotion to Allah would keep me healthy. The pain got worse in September. Sharp stabbing sensations in my chest that made me gasp. Dizziness that made the room spin. Shortness of breath that scared me. I finally agreed to see a cardiologist. His name was Dr. Morrison. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He listened to my heart with his stethoscope and frowned. He ordered tests immediately. The tests took 3 days. Blood work, EKG, echocardiogram, a stress test, CT scan. Dr. Morrison called me into his office on September 22nd, 2023. He told me to sit down. His face was serious. He said I had a rare heart condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. My heart muscle was too thick. It couldn't pump blood properly. People with this condition could die suddenly without warning, often during exercise or stress, sometimes even during sleep. I asked if it could be fixed. Dr. Morrison said yes, but it required open heart surgery. They would need to remove part of the thickened muscle. It was a dangerous operation. 5 to 10% of patients didn't survive. But without surgery, I could die any day. The condition was getting worse. He showed me images of my heart. I could see the problem myself. The left ventricle wall was twice as thick as it should be. I sat in that office feeling my perfect life crumble. I was 29 years old, a billionaire, engaged to the perfect woman, about to die from a heart condition I didn't even know I had. Dr. Morrison said I needed to schedule surgery immediately, within weeks, maybe days. Every moment I waited increased my risk of sudden death. I called Yasmin from the parking lot. I could barely speak through my crying. She said she would stand by me no matter what, that Allah was testing us, that if we kept our faith strong, everything would be okay. I wanted to believe her. I prayed that night longer than I had ever prayed before. I begged Allah to heal me, to let me live, to allow me to marry Yasmin and have children and continue spreading Islam in America. The surgery was scheduled for October 15th, 2023. I had 3 weeks to prepare, 3 weeks to get my affairs in order, 3 weeks to face the possibility that I might not survive. I wrote letters to my family. I updated my will. I made peace with friends I had argued with, and I prayed constantly. If I was going to die, I wanted to die in perfect standing with Allah. Those 3 weeks felt like 3 years. Every day I woke up grateful to be alive. Every night I went to sleep wondering if I would wake up. Yasmin stayed with me constantly. She read Quran verses to comfort me. She reminded me that death was just a doorway to paradise, that if I died with this strong faith, I would enter heaven immediately. I held on to those promises like a drowning man holds onto a rope. October 15th arrived faster than I wanted. I checked into Cedar Sinai Medical Center at 5 a.m. The hospital was massive and cold. Everything smelled like chemicals and fear. Nurses took my vitals and started an IV. Dr. Morrison came to see me before surgery. He squeezed my shoulder and said his team was the best in the world, that they had done this procedure hundreds of times, that I was young and strong, that I would be okay. Yasmin kissed my forehead. My mother had flown in from Dubai and held my hand, crying. My father stood in the corner looking scared for the first time in my life. The anesthesiologist told me to count backward from 10. I got to 7 before everything went black. I had no idea I was about to die and see something that would destroy everything I believed about God. I woke up in what I thought was the recovery room, but something was wrong. There was no beeping from machines, no antiseptic smell, no pain in my chest. I opened my eyes and sat up easily. Too easily for someone who just had open heart surgery. I looked down at my chest, expecting to see bandages and tubes. Instead, I was wearing white clothes I had never seen before, clean and soft and glowing slightly. I stood up. My legs worked perfectly. No weakness, no dizziness. I felt stronger than I had ever felt in my entire life. The room I was in didn't look like any hospital. The walls were made of something I couldn't identify, like crystal but softer. Light came from everywhere, but there was no visible source. It was the most beautiful place I had ever seen. I walked to what looked like a doorway. Beyond it was a landscape that made my breath stop. Rolling fields of grass so green it hurt to look at. Trees with leaves that shimmered like they were made of precious stones. A sky that was somehow multiple colors at once. Blue and gold and purple all swirling together. And the light, everything was filled with light that felt alive, warm, loving, perfect. I heard voices singing, not human voices, something more beautiful. Harmonies that made my chest ache with joy. I walked in toward the sound. My feet touched the grass and it felt like silk. Every step made me feel more alive, more awake, like I had been asleep my whole life and was finally waking up. That's when I saw them. Beings made of light. They had forms like humans but brighter. They were singing the most beautiful songs I had ever heard. When they noticed me, they stopped singing and turned toward me. Their faces were filled with so much love that I started crying. One of them moved closer. He spoke without moving his mouth. His voice was in my head and my heart at the same time. "Welcome home, Tariq. We've been waiting for you." I was confused. Home? This wasn't home. Home was Los Angeles, my mansion, my prayer room. This was somewhere else, somewhere I didn't understand. I asked where I was. The being smiled. "You are in the place between. Your body is on an operating table dying. Your spirit is here. You have a choice to make." I remembered the surgery, the anesthesia, counting backward. I must have died on the table. This was the afterlife. I felt a surge of fear and then joy. I had made it. I had lived faithfully. Allah had accepted me. I was in paradise. I fell to my knees in gratitude. But the being said something that confused me. "Stand up, Tariq. You're not kneeling to Allah. That name has no power here." I looked up shocked. What did he mean? Allah was God, the only God, the creator of everything. How could his name have no power in paradise? I asked who was in charge if not Allah. The being's smile grew even brighter. "You're about to meet him. He's been waiting for you." I was led through the beautiful landscape. Every step revealed new wonders, waterfalls that flowed upward, flowers that sang, colors that didn't exist on earth. Other beings joined us, all of them radiating love and joy. They kept saying the same thing. "He can't wait to see you. He's been calling you your whole life." We came to a place where the light was so intense I couldn't look at it directly. But it wasn't painful. It was like staring at pure love, pure truth, pure goodness, all concentrated in one spot. I felt drawn to it, like a magnet pulling me, like coming home after being lost for years. Then he stepped out of the light. A man, but not just a man. He was wearing simple clothes. His face was kind and strong. His eyes held the weight of eternity, but also the gentleness of a father looking at his child. He smiled at me and I fell to my knees again. Not from fear, from overwhelming love. This being loved me more than I had ever been loved. I could feel it radiating from him in waves. Tariq, he said. My voice was gentle. I've been waiting for you. I've been calling you, knocking on your heart. But you kept looking in the wrong direction. I asked who he was, even though part of me already knew. Part of me had always known but refused to accept it. He knelt down beside me and took my hands. His touch sent electricity through my entire being. I am Jesus. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the one you've been searching for. I pulled my hands away. No, that was impossible. Jesus was just a prophet, a good man, but not God, not the Creator. I had been taught this my entire life. Islam was clear. Jesus was honored, but he wasn't divine. This had to be a trick, a test. Maybe Satan trying to deceive me before I entered real paradise. Jesus looked at me with such sadness, not anger, just sadness. Tariq, you spent your whole life trying to earn my love, but I've loved you freely since before you were born. You thought devotion would save you, but only I can save you. You prayed 5 times a day to someone who doesn't exist the way you thought. But I heard every prayer. I was always there, waiting for you to see me. I started arguing with him. I listed all my good deeds, my prayers, my charity, my memorization of the Quran, my fasting, my devotion. Surely that counted for something. Surely I had earned paradise. Jesus just shook his head gently. You can't earn what I give freely. Grace isn't something you achieve. It's something you receive. He showed me something then, like a movie playing in the air. I saw my whole life. Every prayer I prayed thinking I was talking to Allah, but in every prayer Jesus was there listening. Every time I felt peace during prayer, it was Jesus giving me that peace. Every blessing I thought came from Allah was actually from Jesus. He had been pursuing me my entire life, but I had been looking past him to something that didn't exist the way I believed. I saw moments I had forgotten, times when I felt drawn to learn about Jesus but pushed the feeling away. Christians I met who tried to tell me about him, but I dismissed them as infidels. Books about Christianity I almost read but refused because I thought they were corrupted. Jesus had been knocking on my heart for years, and I had locked the door and thrown away the key. Have you ever realized you were completely wrong about something you based your entire life on? That's what I felt in that moment. Everything I believed was crumbling. Islam, Allah, the Quran. My whole identity as a faithful Muslim. All of it was built on a foundation that wasn't true. And the standing in front of me was the truth I had rejected my whole life. Jesus reached for me again. This time I didn't pull away. He said I had a choice. I could return to my body. But I would return knowing the truth, knowing that he was God, knowing that Islam was wrong. If I went back, I would have to tell people what I saw. I would lose everything, my family, my fiancé, my reputation, maybe even my life. Muslims don't forgive apostasy. Or I could stay. I could die and remain in this beautiful place. But if I stayed, thousands of people who looked up to me would never hear the truth. My testimony could change lives. My story could free people from the same religious prison I had lived in. Jesus said the choice was mine. But he wanted me to go back. He had work for me to do. I looked at the paradise around me. It was more beautiful than anything I could imagine. Peace filled every molecule of air. Love saturated everything. Why would anyone choose to leave this and return to earth, to suffering, to pain, to a life that was about to be destroyed by the truth I now knew? But I thought about Yasmin, about my family, about the thousands of young Muslim men who looked up to me. They were all believing the same lie I had believed. They were all trying to earn their way to God instead of accepting the grace that was freely offered. If I stayed, they would never know. They would live and die thinking they had to perform perfectly to be accepted by Allah. Jesus waited patiently. He never pressured me, never demanded, just waited with that gentle smile. I thought about all the times I had felt empty after prayer. All the time I wondered if I was doing enough. All the anxiety about whether Allah would accept me. All the fear of judgment. Jesus was offering me freedom from all of that. But it would cost me everything I had built. I made my decision. I told Jesus I would go back. He hugged me. The embrace was like being wrapped in pure love. He whispered in my ear, I will be with you always. When they reject you, I will hold you. When you lose everything, you will gain me. And I am worth more than everything you're about to lose. He told me I would be dead for 11 minutes total. That doctors were working on my body right now, trying to bring me back. That when I returned, I would remember everything I saw, every detail, every word, every feeling. This wasn't a dream or hallucination. This was real. More real than anything on earth. The beautiful landscape started fading. Jesus was fading. I reached for him but couldn't hold on. The light dimmed. The singing stopped. Everything went black. And then I heard the most horrible sound. A flat tone beeping. The sound of a heart monitor showing a flat line. The sound of death. Pain exploded through my chest. Someone was pressing down hard. Voices were shouting, clear. My body jerked violently. Electricity shot through me. The pain was unbearable. I tried to scream but couldn't. My throat had a tube in it. My eyes opened to blinding white lights. Faces in surgical masks hovered over me. Hands touched me everywhere. Dr. Morrison's voice cut through the chaos. We've got him back. Pulse is weak but steady. Tariq, if you can hear me, don't try to move. You're okay. You're alive. But I wasn't okay. I was back in my broken body, back in the world of pain and fear. The operating room was freezing. Everything hurt. My chest felt like it had been torn open, which it had. But worse than the physical pain was the loss. I had been in paradise. I had been with Jesus. And now I was back in this cold, painful, dying world. The surgery continued for another 4 hours. They had to repair my heart and stabilize me. I drifted in and out of consciousness. Every time I woke up, I saw Jesus standing in the corner of the operating room. The doctors couldn't see him, but he was there, watching, waiting, keeping his promise that he would never leave me. When I finally woke up in recovery, Yasmin was holding my hand. Her face was red from crying. She kissed my fingers and thanked Allah that I had survived. My mother was praying in the corner. My father stood by the window looking exhausted. They all looked so relieved, so grateful. But I felt sick with dread because I knew what I had to tell them, and it would destroy them. The doctor said I had died for 11 minutes. My heart had stopped completely during surgery. They had to shock me 3 times to bring me back. Dr. Morrison said it was the closest call he'd had in 20 years, that I was lucky to be alive. But I knew it wasn't luck. Jesus had sent me back for a purpose, for a mission that terrified me. I spent 3 days in the hospital recovering. My chest hurt so bad I couldn't sit up without help. Tubes ran from my body to machines. Nurses checked on me every hour. Yasmin never left my side. She read Quran verses to me. She reminded me that Allah had saved me, that I had been given a second chance. I wanted to tell her the truth, but I couldn't find the words yet. On the 4th day, I was moved to a private room. Yasmin had gone home to shower. My parents were in the cafeteria. I was alone for the first time since the surgery. That's when Jesus appeared again. Not in a vision, he was actually there, standing by my hospital bed, as real as any person. He said it was time to tell people what I saw, time to start the journey he had prepared for me. I asked him how I was supposed to do this. How could I tell my Muslim family that I had seen Jesus in heaven, that Allah wasn't real, that everything we believed was wrong? It would kill my mother. Yasmin would leave me. My father would disown me. Jesus said telling the truth always costs something, but hiding the truth costs more. He reminded me that he lost everything too. His family thought he was crazy. Religious leaders wanted him dead. His closest friends abandoned him. But he spoke truth anyway, because truth sets people free, even when freedom is painful at first. I asked what would happen to my business, my money, my reputation. Jesus smiled and said I would lose most of it, maybe all of it, but I would gain what I had been searching for my whole life. Real peace, real love, real purpose. Things money couldn't buy. Things religious performance couldn't earn. That night I called a lawyer and asked him to record a video statement. If I was going to tell the truth, I needed documentation, something that couldn't be erased or denied later. The lawyer thought I was crazy, but he brought a camera to my hospital room the next morning. I sat up in my hospital bed. I was still connected to IVs and monitors and told my story. I described dying on the operating table, being in paradise, meeting Jesus, realizing Islam was wrong, understanding that Jesus was God and the only way to heaven. I talked for 47 minutes straight, every detail I could remember. When I finished, the lawyer was pale. He asked if I was sure I wanted this recorded. I said yes, truth mattered more than comfort. Yasmin came back that afternoon. She was carrying flowers and wearing a beautiful smile. She said our families were planning a celebration for my recovery, a big party to thank Allah for saving me. She was excited about finally moving forward with our wedding plans. I looked at her beautiful face and felt my heart breaking all over again. I told her I needed to talk to her about something serious. She sat down looking concerned. I took her hand and started explaining what happened during surgery, about dying, about heaven, about Jesus. With every word, her face changed. Confusion, disbelief, horror, anger. By the time I finished, she was standing across the room from me like I was contaminated. She said I was confused from the anesthesia, that I had hallucinated. That trauma sometimes makes people imagine things. I insisted it was real, that Jesus was God, that Islam was wrong, that I couldn't marry her because I was no longer Muslim. She started crying, then screaming. Nurses came running into the room. Yasmin kept yelling that I had lost my mind, that Satan had deceived me, that I was going to hell. My parents rushed in hearing the commotion. Yasmin told them what I said. My mother collapsed. My father's face turned red with rage. He grabbed my shoulders and shook me, forgetting I had just had open heart surgery. Pain shot through my chest, but I didn't care. Physical pain was nothing compared to the pain of watching my family break apart. My father said I was no longer his son, that I had brought shame on our family, that he would tell everyone I died during surgery rather than admit I had become Christian. My mother was crying so hard she couldn't speak. Yasmin threw her engagement ring at me and ran out of the room. I heard her sobbing echo down the hospital hallway. Hospital security had to remove my father. He was shouting about honor and betrayal. My mother was led away by nurses. I was alone in that hospital room, surrounded by broken relationships and shattered dreams. Everything Jesus said would happen was happening. I was losing everything. And it had only been 24 hours since I woke up. The video I recorded leaked within 2 days. My lawyer had sent it to someone. That person sent it to someone else. By the end of the week, it was all over social media. Muslim billionaire claims he saw Jesus. Tech mogul abandons Islam after heart surgery. Dubai prince's son converts to Christianity. The headlines were everywhere. My phone exploded with messages. Death threats from Muslims who called me an apostate. Hate mail from people I thought were friends. Business partners wanting to end our relationships. Even some Christians messaging me saying it was probably a hallucination and I shouldn't be so certain. My board of directors called an emergency meeting. They said my conversion was bad for business, that our app served a global market, including Muslim countries, that my public Christianity would hurt the sales. They asked me to step down as CEO. When I refused, they voted to remove me. The company I built was taken away in a 15-minute conference call. Have you ever watched your entire life collapse in slow motion? That's what the next month felt like. My family stopped talking to me. Yasmin sent back every gift I had given her with a letter saying I was dead to her. Friends I had known for years blocked me on social media. Mosques I had donated millions to returned my money. Business deals fell through. I was radioactive, toxic, a traitor. But through it all, Jesus kept his promise. Every night he appeared in my dreams, reminding me why this mattered. Every morning I woke up with supernatural peace that made no sense. When the loneliness felt unbearable, I would feel his presence. When depression tried to drown me, I would remember heaven. The brief time in paradise was worth all the suffering on earth. I moved out of my mansion. It felt empty and cold anyway. I rented a small apartment in downtown Los Angeles. 2 bedrooms, simple furniture, no stuff, no luxury. I was living on savings because my business income had been cut off, but I felt freer than I had ever felt in my Bel Air palace. 3 months after my conversion, I was baptized in a small church in Los Angeles. Only 30 people attended. None of them were family, none were my old friends. They were Christians I had met through a former Muslim ministry. People who understood what I was going through. People who had walked the same painful path of leaving Islam. When I came up from the baptism water, I felt Jesus smile. I couldn't see him, but I felt his pleasure. I had chosen him over everything else. I had counted the cost and paid it willingly. Every loss was worth gaining him. Every rejection from humans was nothing compared to acceptance from God. I started speaking at churches about my experience. At first, just small churches in California, then bigger churches across America, then international invitations. People wanted to hear about the Muslim billionaire who lost everything for Jesus, who died and went to heaven and came back to tell the truth. Some people didn't believe me. They said near-death experiences were just brain chemistry, oxygen deprivation creating hallucinations. I understood their skepticism. I would have said the same thing before it happened to me, but I knew what I experienced was real. More real than anything in this physical world. Other former Muslims started reaching out. They had seen my video, read articles about my story. They were secret Christians hiding in Muslim families, or Muslims who were questioning Islam, or people who had near-death experiences of their own. Each one needed encouragement. Each one needed to know they weren't alone. I started a ministry in 2024 to help Muslims discover Jesus. We created resources, offered counseling, provided financial support for people who lost everything when they converted. Within a year, we had helped over 200 Muslims leave Islam and find Jesus. Each conversion reminded me why Jesus sent me back, why the suffering mattered. In June 2024, 8 months after my conversion, I met Sarah at a Christian conference. She was a worship leader from Texas. She had never been Muslim, never faced persecution for faith, but she loved Jesus with her whole heart. We talked for hours after the conference. She asked about my journey. I asked about hers. We both felt something special. Sarah was different from Yasmin. Yasmin had loved me for being the perfect Muslim, for my devotion and discipline. Sarah loved me for being broken and remade by Jesus. She didn't care about my money, which was mostly gain anyway. She didn't care about my reputation, which was destroyed in the Muslim world. She just cared about my heart and my faith. We dated for 6 months, not the arranged courtship I had with Yasmin. Real dating, learning about each other, growing together in faith. On Christmas Eve 2024, I proposed to her in a small church in Houston. She said yes, crying. We got married 3 months later in March 2025. Small ceremony, mostly Christians from our ministry. No one from my biological family attended, but my biological family wasn't my only family anymore. I had brothers and sisters in Christ all over the world. People who loved me, supported me, prayed for me. They showed up when my blood relatives abandoned me. They proved that God's family is stronger than earthly family. Sarah and I moved to a modest house in Texas. I took a job teaching business at a Christian university. The pay was a tiny fraction of what I made as CEO, but I loved it. I was investing in young people, helping them understand that success without Jesus is empty, that losing everything for him is gaining everything that matters. My mother reached out in late 2025. She called my old phone number, which I had kept hoping someone from my family would contact me. She was crying. She said she couldn't accept what I believed, but she missed her son. She asked if we could talk sometimes, just about life, not about religion. I met with her in a neutral location, a coffee shop in Los Angeles. She had aged since I last saw her. More gray hair, more wrinkles. The stress of having an apostate son had taken its toll. We talked carefully around faith topics. She told me about my brothers, about my father who still refused to say my name, about the family business, I told her about Sarah, about my teaching job, about finding peace. At the end of our meeting, my mother asked one question. Do you really believe you saw Jesus? I looked in her eyes and said yes. She nodded slowly. Then she said something that gave me hope. I don't understand it, but I've never seen you at peace like this before. Whatever you have now is real. In 2026, my father had a heart attack. Not as serious as mine, but scary enough to make him think about mortality. My brother Faisal called to tell me. He said father wanted to see me, not to reconcile, just to see me one more time before he died. I flew to Dubai immediately. My father was in the same hospital where I had been born 30 years earlier. He looked small in that hospital bed, the proud prince reduced to a sick old man. When I walked in, he stared at me for a long time. Then he said 4 words I never expected to hear. Tell me about Jesus. I spent 3 hours at his bedside describing my death experience, heaven, meeting Jesus, the choice to come back, everything I had seen and felt. My father listened without interrupting. His face was unreadable. When I finished, he was quiet for several minutes. Then he said he wasn't ready to believe, but he would think about it. My father survived his heart attack. He didn't convert to Christianity, but he stopped trying to erase me from the family. He told my brothers they could contact me if they wanted. It wasn't full reconciliation, but it was something, a crack in the wall, a possibility of healing. Today I live in Texas with Sarah. We have one daughter named Grace. She's learning about Jesus from birth, growing up knowing she's loved unconditionally by God, not because of what she does, but because of what Jesus did. I look at her and feel grateful. Grateful that she'll never have to earn God's love like I tried to. I still speak at churches and conferences. I've shared my story in 30 countries now. Thousands of Muslims have heard my testimony. Hundreds have converted to Christianity. Each one costs me something. Death threats increase every time I speak publicly. But I remember heaven. I remember Jesus. And I know it's all worth it. People ask if I regret losing my billions, my family, my reputation. The answer is no. I gained something worth more than all of that. I gained Jesus. I gained truth. I gained real peace. I would make the same choice again every single day. I died for 11 minutes and saw heaven. What I discovered there changed everything. Jesus is real. He's alive. He's God. And he loves you more than you can imagine. You don't have to earn his love. You can't earn it. You just have to accept it. Have you ever wondered what happens after death? I can tell you. Jesus is waiting there. Not Allah, not Muhammad, not some impersonal force. Jesus. The same Jesus Christians worship. The same one I denied for 29 years. The same one who died for you. My story isn't about religion. It's about truth. Jesus said he is the way, the truth, and the life. I spent my whole life looking for truth in Islam, but truth was in Jesus all along. He was always there, always calling, always waiting. I just had to stop running and let him catch me. You don't need to die and come back to know Jesus. You just need to open your heart. He's knocking right now. Will you let him in? Or will you spend your life trying to earn something that's freely offered? The choice is yours, but I'm telling you from experience, Jesus is worth everything, and losing everything for him means gaining what really matters.